Do you think McDonaldization is as relevant today as it was when you first wrote the book? Do you think it's more relevant, less relevant, relevant in different ways?
Oh, it's much more relevant. I mean, that's another reason for the success of the book, I think, is that, you know, with each passing year, the McDonaldization of our environment and of organizations in which we exist proliferates. I was just speaking in outside of Oklahoma City, and we're driving in, I think it was Edmond, Oklahoma, and we're driving on the new main drag in Edmond, Oklahoma, and it's one of these streets which is just one chain store after another, one fast food restaurant after another. And if I think of modern America today, or Main Street, there was this famous book by Sinclair Lewis called Main Street, and his image of Main Street was taken by Disney. You know, the entrance to Disney World is Main Street. Well, that's a Disneyized image of what Sinclair Lewis meant by Main Street. But I think Main Street now in the United States is that kind of road where you can only drive, and you have all of these kind of McDonaldized sort of businesses of one sort or another. So the proliferation of that, of all of the new varieties of these kinds of restaurants and other organizations, churches, for example, have gotten far more McDonaldized. Homes have gotten far more McDonaldized. So we talk about McMansions now, these huge new homes which are enormous, expensive, but highly McDonaldized. Education has certainly grown much more McDonaldized, and with the growth of the internet and distance education and that sort of thing, it can only grow more McDonaldized. And then globally, a few years ago I was speaking in Taipei. Taipei is the most McDonaldized city I've ever been in. There are more fast food places, Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King, and a 7-Eleven or two on virtually every block. I mean, that's a slight exaggeration, but I don't believe I've ever been in a city which is more McDonaldized than Taipei. And China is rushing headlong in the direction of McDonaldization, with McDonald's and all of the other Starbucks expanding rapidly there. So for all those reasons, I think this is a much bigger phenomenon than when I first started writing about it, and than even I imagined.
What do you see as the future of McDonaldization, both the process and the book?
Well, the process is the book is tied to the process. That is, if McDonald's went out of business tomorrow, I'd either have to rename it Starbuckization, assuming Starbucks continues. So in a strange kind of way, the fate of the book is tied to the success of McDonald's. I was a little bit worried about that, actually, because a few years ago McDonald's was having serious problems, and there was talk of it declining or going out of business. And obviously the decline of McDonald's would not be good for a book, or disappearance of McDonald's would not be good for a book called McDonaldization. So in that kind of odd sort of way, my fate and the fate of the book is tied to McDonald's. But I don't think McDonald's is going anywhere. I mean, they've weathered that storm, and they're adapting and creating, and they've created this system, and in many ways they're still the best at that system. But the other answer is, in another sense, it doesn't matter, because I'm not really interested in McDonald's. It just happens to be the name that I chose. I'm interested in the process. And so whether McDonald's disappears or not is irrelevant to the process, because we might call it Starbuckization, or we might call it Fuddruckization, or Pizza Hutization, or we call all kinds of. We will have new paradigms in the future, but I think this process is not going where. It's just going to continue to expand. We're getting closer and closer to Weber's iron cage.